Hello out there. We're on the air for a very rare Saturday show. Speaking of Saturday, we should give a shout out to our good friend. Oh, I got music playing in the background. Hopefully people can't hear it. Hold on, I'll try to stop it. We should try to stop it here so we can hear and speak clearly. Okay, there we go. Stop. Okay, sorry about that. So it is Saturday show. And before we go any further, we should do a couple housekeeping items. Number one, shout out to Jerry Loves Freedom. Shout out to Fractal Bitcoin. I was on their Bitcoin panel yesterday afternoon. What a good time that was. We did it over 2 hours just talking about Bitcoin, talking about our vision of the future, talking about security, everything that you'd like to hear if you're a Bitcoiner. It's pretty fun. It was a lot of fun, actually. And I think we're planning to do another one next week, next Friday, every Friday afternoon. See how long it goes. Who knows? But it's pretty fun to talk to those guys. So I want to give a shout out. I'm sure Jerry's going to be posting his Satoshi Saturday video sometime soon. I was actually just going to do a video myself. Bridge has went to the city today for a hair appointment. So me and Arnie are stuck here by ourselves. I figured make a video. And then I was like, well, might as well just do it live. So we're going to do the video, but we're going to do it live. I got a couple different things to talk about today. The first one that we're going to talk about, and I couldn't wait to talk about this. I was so excited. Instead of waiting till Monday, I wanted to do it today. So we're going to talk about the Bitcoin mortgage. We're going to watch a video. We're going to talk about it. We're going to go through it. I got a little spreadsheet to share on it. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Ethereum, altcoins. Are we going to see an altcoin season or not? The difference between some altcoins and Bitcoin. And then we're going to talk about this new feature on Nostr called Nostr Read. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit. I'm going to share my experience with it so far and how I got everything set up. So I think we're live on Zapstream. I'm not 100% sure. It seems to be working a little bit better. Yeah, it looks like we're live. Okay. Well, I'll open up my, what am I doing here? Oh, my wallet, Koinos, koinos.io. Oh yeah, well, it looks like we got some people showing up here. I wasn't expecting to do this. I didn't give anybody any sort of notice. So I figured it would take a little while for people to show up here, but it looks like they're here. They're coming. So we're not going to go through our usual stuff today. We're not going to do the mempool or the metrics. Maybe we'll give away some Bitcoin depending on how many people show up in here today. Actually, we'll probably do it either way. I don't care how many people show up today. That's not what things are about. Oh, and one more thing before we get into the Bitcoin mortgage. Just anybody out there listening who joined the Living the Future this week. There was quite a few people who joined. Just have a little bit of patience. I'm going to be sending the emails out later this week. And I'm also going to be sharing episode number 4 of the multi-generational wealth course that we've been doing. Episode 4 was on UTXOs. So just in case there's anybody out there listening to this or watching that isn't yet a member of our Living in the Future community, for $5 per month. I mean, I was thinking about that today. I was like, I feel like it's almost too cheap where people don't think that they're going to get any sort of value from it because it's so cheap. But with that, you get the community. You get the Signal chat, you get the Discord channel. Plus now on top of that, you get the multi-generational wealth course, which I think is more than worth the $5 itself. So we got the first episode was key management, looking after your Bitcoin, your devices, your seed phrase. The second one was about really leaning in on Bitcoin, how to focus your time, energy, your capital into Bitcoin properly and effectively. Number 3 was on passphrase and decoy wallets, which I think that anybody over 1 million sats should be looking into a decoy wallet or a passphrase or both. And then the last episode, number 4, which is going to be posted today, is on UTXOs, which not a lot of people talk about unless the fee environment's high. And then there's like 1,000 videos on YouTube talking about it. But By then it's too late. By then you've already missed the opportunity. So as Tommy D says here in the chat, I'm not paying for this ad. So Tommy D, living the future is legit. Absolutely is. Way underpriced. Jason says VIB. Is that, Jason, are you the very important Bitcoiner in there? We had our first person join, and that's something I'm actually looking forward to, and I haven't talked anything about yet. But I have 8 spots open for the VIBs, the very important Bitcoiners. And that is for, it's a little bit more, obviously, quite a bit more. But you get them, what do you even get with it? Let me double check that. Is it a monthly check-in? It's basically for people who are getting into Bitcoin, who have a lot of Bitcoin and don't know what they're doing. This is kind of like a long drawn out process of like meeting frequently with me just to make sure that your strategy is good, your security is good, your UTXOs are good, everything's on track. I'm just going to double check that. I don't want to give any misinformation here. Everyone knows how much we hate mis and disinformation around here. Okay, where is this? VIBs. Yeah, monthly. VIB is very important Bitcoiners. So you get a monthly video or phone check-in with me to review your strategy, ask questions, review your security setup, UTXOs, all that stuff. You get access to the Signal chat, Discord channel, every full show. Oh, look at this. And a 24/7 emergency helpline included in that. So it's obviously not for everybody, but it's for certain people out there, I think, who have a lot of Bitcoin and they're a little bit uneasy about it. How much is a lot? $88 a month. That's the VIBs. There's only 8 spots available. We got our first person signed up this week. And I limited to 8 because my time is scarce. I don't want to be having 30 meetings a month with people. So I only limited to 8 people in there for the VIBs. Again, not for everybody, but for some people. Everybody though, anybody in Bitcoin should be joining the Living in the Future, in my opinion. Oh, that is Jason. There you go. Jason's been a very, very big supporter of this channel. So thank you, Jason. I appreciate that a lot. Diamond Hands, I'm in Manitoba. I'm not in Winnipeg. I'm about 3 hours west of Winnipeg. Okay, so today, again, Timber Crasher in the chat. Good to see you, my friend, one of our Bitcoin Journeyman. Your worst nightmare says we need updates on the real Bedford result. What's that mean? The real Bedford result. Who else we got in here? TJ was the first chat in here. We got the Bitcoin Buddha. Jason, our VIB. I didn't know that was you, Jason. That's cool. I'm looking forward to chatting with you. We got Nah from Calgary, Dr. Gonzo, Eric, maybe some new faces who are here from Fractal Bitcoin's channel. Either way, Ape says, how much is a lot of Bitcoin for that program? I would say probably, that's a good question. Probably over 1 Bitcoin, between 50 million and 100 sats. If you have half a Bitcoin and you really have no idea what you're doing, this is like the perfect kind of thing for you. If you're way out of your league, but you have a lot of capital that you put into Bitcoin and you think you went in too fast, that's kind of what this thing is for. We can have a monthly check-in, see what you're doing, see what you got, see what you need, and make a plan. Just peace of mind. Because you're dealing with a lot of capital today, and a lot of that's going to be worth more than we can even imagine in the future. And you have to get the first parts right. So that's kind of what this service is for people like that. 50 to 1 million sats. Because if you think about it, I mean, I've been talking about this for the last little while on the show in terms of allocating 5% of your stack into your security. So if you got a full Bitcoin, that's $100,000 US. And so you take $5,000 as your security budget to start, and $88 a month for a year probably. This isn't like an ongoing thing where you're going to be a VIB for 10 years. It's just kind of get off the ground. So that's what? Less than $1,000 for the whole year. So that's even a fraction of your security budget for 1 Bitcoin. That's kind of the threshold that I would say for it. So you can find that on the Patreon too. There's a couple different tiers on there. Oh, Diamond Hands from Winnipeg. Nice. I hear there's some good meetups in Winnipeg. I got to get to one. But the Regina is actually closer to me than Winnipeg, which is kind of crazy. But I'm pretty close to the Sask border. So I've been to Regina meetup, and I'm going to be going to more meetups. I'm on the Regina Bitcoin Council now. So I'm not only going to be attending, I'm going to be helping plan them. Badger's in the chat. Good morning, wee wee. Or oi oi. What is that? Oi oi? I don't know. I wanted to give a shout out too to our friends on the East Coast. I know that we have some Bitcoin Journey listeners from the East Coast. So my favorite place, Prince Edward Island. Also love Nova Scotia. Never been to Newfoundland yet. And I was in New Brunswick when I was a young lad playing hockey. But shout out to the East Coast viewers and listeners today. Okay, well, I didn't want to make a big, long show today. Again, I was just going to do a video to share on the channel. But then I was like, you know what? Let's just do a live show and we'll do it. We'll do it live, as we say. What are my thoughts on Trudeau and the GST relief? Wow, how much time do you have here? I'm thinking you could guess. Actually, you know what? I'll say one nice thing about Trudeau. He's created a lot of very good Bitcoiners in Canada with his inability to manage money, his complete disregard for our citizens in this country, and it's turned a lot of people away from government and from our currency. So that's what I'll say on Trudeau. He's doing a great job in there. Actually, you know what? I'm going to save the Bitcoin loan for last. I don't want to start. I want to warm up a little bit here. Let's get warmed up. So let's start with this. I watched this interview last night. Bitcoin is my job with American Hodl. One of my favorite Bitcoiners, American Hodl, for a lot of reasons. But he's got to be up there with Jeff Booth, Saylor, obviously, Odell, Marty, American Hodl. I'd say that's my top 5. So let's listen to what American Hodl and what's his other guy's name? Alex Glee? No, not Alex. I think his name's Alex. So let's listen to what these guys have to say about altcoins this cycle.
Bitcoin's going to do 280x. So if you are an investor who's aware of this macro trend of, continued monetary inflation forever, which I think we all are at this point, do you want to ride on the slow horse? Gold? You want to take gold to the prom? No, it's Bitcoin. Like, you want the best bang for your buck in terms of, value accrual.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just the trade is so clear, and God, the other cryptos have been just so wrecked in its wake this year. It's been amazing to watch.
It's kind of beautiful, right? They're all just collapsing down into meme coins, which is it's a self-admission that we're worthless. we're worthless. We suck.
Basically none of the big ideas have happened, right? I mean, there's some DeFi, but it's just crypto money in there, right? It's not like it hasn't permeated. It is that we've been calling it the barbell market. You've got like deep value, long-term store value Bitcoin on one side, and then just like the most vacuous, like speculative trading ever in crypto on the other side.
By the way, this mirrors Weimar a bit, because people who don't know their history, if you haven't read the book When Money Dies, in Weimar, people were gambling on stocks. So that's exactly what's happening now. It's just we have a more pure form of gambling on stocks, and you just buy a picture of a monkey.
Yeah, exactly.
It's actually like in the early days of shitcoins, I used to get upset and angry because shitcoins were lying, and they were saying they were going to displace Bitcoin. I think everyone knows they're not going to displace Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is king. That's clear across the board, right? So I don't have to like fight them anymore.
Yeah.
But like the meme coin game is it's very honestly a game of hot potato. It's like, hey, I'm buying this for $1,000. I want to sell it to you for 10,000.
Yeah,
that's
I think that's right. It's what I always appreciated about Dogecoin. I wrote a paper in 2021 called Dogecoin, the most honest shitcoin. And that was basically the thesis. I was like, look, it has no pre-mine. It's a fair launch. So that alone, there's no insider. It's proof of work. It's all the basic sort of Bitcoin launch style. And with just none of the pretension, no promises, no grand vision at all. No, not going to be a new Bitcoin. Just a joke. Just exists for no reason at all. And I always respected that about the Doge.
So whereas the other things, like the things that are, trying to appear as though they're real and tangible, like Ethereum, are just getting decimated, right? Somebody said on Twitter today, they said, if Bitcoin is a digital good, does that mean that Ethereum is a digital bad?
I mean, it's been,
Yeah,
dude,
kinda.
it's honestly, I'll even throw some sympathy for the Ethereum investors, because I mean, it's down 62% against Bitcoin since the merge. It's still going lower. I even tweeted, I thought that, and I still do think, but again, it's not happening yet for sure, that, you know, like a more permissive SEC is net better for ETH and altcoins than it is for Bitcoin. But, and so I was like, maybe this is the low, you know, for ETH BTC, and it just has gone lower and lower.
I think
I don't know anyone. Kobe,
Yeah.
you see Kobe's thread today,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
about how
He's
he doesn't
only
own any ETH.
Yeah.
He used to be like an Ethereum influencer.
They're running up against the ceiling, this ceiling of scale, right? So like we're now at an institutional level across the board that you can't find any more retail money to pump this thing. And surprise, surprise, the institutional guys are really fucking smart, and they do their diligence, and they're looking at ETH and they're saying, what the fuck is this for? What is this? You know,
and do you even need the asset? Like,
right.
Even if you want to use it, you don't need to store your money in it.
I mean, MSTR, a company that just buys Bitcoin, is kicking the shit out of ETH in terms of performance.
Yeah. What do you think, Saylor? I haven't seen him.
I mean, that's exactly what's happening right now. Exactly what's happening. And I know that there are some people who have been with this channel for a while now, who have been following the daily Bitcoin journey. And I've been talking about Ethereum for a very long time. That was one of my first videos I ever made, was sell your Ethereum now while you still can for Bitcoin. It's down 60% since that merge. 60%. And this guy, Galaxy Hat, Alex, the crazy thing, they were mocking this guy. They said that this Ethereum influencer admitted that he sold all of his Ethereum. He doesn't have any Ethereum anymore. A former Ethereum influencer has no more Ethereum. But even this guy, I know you can't see it here, but he's on my screen. But you look at the Galaxy thing, and when I first started watching this guy and some of the interviews that he does on Galaxy, he would say, we're Bitcoin first, but our clients and our investments are also in certain things like Ethereum. So even this guy, they're mocking other people, but this guy was an Ethereum. Their company was built around Bitcoin and crypto, and Ethereum was a big part of that. So we're kind of seeing that play out now. And I do feel really bad for the people who have held on to their Ethereum, hoping that they can get more Bitcoin with it over time. They're waiting for the fiat price of it to go up, but Bitcoin train has left. Look at Bitcoin today versus all the altcoins. None of them are doing well. But there's another thing too. They said that nobody's trying to replace Bitcoin anymore. And I would disagree with that. I've seen a lot of people on YouTube and on Twitter, and somebody I've met in real life who think that Kaspa is going to replace Bitcoin. Kaspa. And I remember this. It was about a year ago, maybe more. And I went to a friend's house, or one of Bridge's friend's house. And in the garage, I could hear like a miner, and I didn't know he had any, crypto or Bitcoin or anything like that. And I was like, wow, I'm going to get along very well with this guy. He's mining Bitcoin. So it took a while. Later in the night, I started asking him about Bitcoin, and he said that he was mining Kaspa. Kaspa. So he's mining Kaspa still, probably in his garage, heating it that way. Smart move. Instead of using a heater to heat the garage, just mine some Bitcoin, but he's mining Kaspa. So we got into this not an argument, but a discussion, because the guy who actually told him to start mining Kaspa happened to be there that night. So we had a three-way conversation about Bitcoin versus Kaspa. And I could tell instantly that they didn't really understand anything to do with Bitcoin. They were just kind of writing some videos that they watched about Kaspa, comparing it to Bitcoin. So I didn't push too hard. I didn't tell them like that they're idiots. I probably should have, but they wouldn't have listened to me anyways. So anyways, that's where we're going now. If you have any altcoins, especially Ethereum, Kaspa, trade them for Bitcoin as soon as you possibly can. You're already down 60% in the last year, whenever the merge was. And it's not going to get any better. That's the thing that I really want to drive home. It's not going to go in the other direction. Over in Zapstream, I see Spaceman's over there. Good morning, Arnie and everybody else. Hazo Rocket. Hazel's in the Zap stream. What's up, Jordan? Good morning. My first ever Zap stream live. Where is Arnie? Arnie, you around, bud? I don't know. All I gotta say is bye-bye, and then he shows up because then he knows the show's done. Okay, missing a few chats here. We can catch up quickly though. Which altcoin is my favorite? Sats. Sats are going to be the next altcoin. My second favorite altcoin, MicroStrategy. Mikkel, sup you sat stacking sleuts. Happy Saturday. Player time. Good morning. Good to see you, my friend. Jason in the chat. Jason never misses a show. Big shout out to Jason. I saw Jason ordered Blockstream Jade from the QuickBit. You guys want to see something nice? I mean, it's not nice, but it's just like, it kind of looks like a snow globe out here right now. The snow is just very slowly falling. That's what I'm looking at. Looking at the chat, and I'm looking out into a snow globe. Solana, that's one of the main reasons I think that Ethereum is going to go into the tank, is because of Solana. As they said, like, use it if you need to. There's use cases for both. Ethereum's much more expensive and slower, and a lot of weird things with it. So if you need to, I mean, use it, but don't store your value in altcoins. That's kind of the point. And again, I'm not against altcoins. I'm not like one of those hardcore Bitcoin maximalists that says you shouldn't own anything else, and Bitcoin's the only way. We need hyper Bitcoinization, Bitcoin standard. I'm not one of those guys. I think that if you got, 2% of your portfolio, keep 90% of it in Bitcoin, put 5% in your security, 2% you can put into some meme coins, some altcoins, whatever. Who cares? But don't ever sell your Bitcoin for them. And if your allocation is more than 2%, then start trading them in for Bitcoin. Jason says Montreal's burning and he's scissor dancing in Taylor Swift. Yeah, we're going to look back on these days as a very, very dark time in Canadian history. Laughable, but very dark. Joey, good morning. Wee wee. Wee wee. Randy says we're going to 112K before Christmas, then back to 91K. Maybe. I wouldn't want to have any cash on the sidelines right now, because we could also go to 112K before Christmas and then 212K before New Year's. So you don't know. I don't know. I know long-term where it's going, and I know what my cash is doing every day. So I'm not going to pretend like I know where things are going. Diego, Bitcoin is freedom. Absolutely. Best part about Bitcoin. Buck 52,000 says, all you got to do is look at this guy, Vitalik Buterin. Exactly. And I mean, it sounds kind of shallow to say, but the one thing that really, like, I was interested in Bitcoin, I was interested in cryptos, I was listening to a whole bunch, I was just taking in as much information as I could. And the one thing that really stood out for me between Bitcoin and altcoins before I really knew the difference was the people. I could tell, going back to this comment even, I could tell that Bitcoiners, their hearts were in the right place. They wanted a better future. The altcoins, the Ethereum bros, the Vitalik Buterins, I could tell that they were in it for a very quick profit, and then they were going to dump it on everybody. And Bitcoiners have a much different mentality. And that's what I hope to portray through my channel, that helps maybe get people into Bitcoin or trade their altcoins for Bitcoin, is that feeling of, just people wanting a better future. Randy says none of the alts doing well. That, sir, is dishonest unless you just got in yesterday. Well, I mean, depends what your measuring stick is. Because all the alts that I look at on my screen, they're at about the same place they were 2 years ago in the middle of the bear market. Meanwhile, Bitcoin's 5x since then. So everybody says, like, well, I'm going to buy some alts because there's no way Bitcoin can go from 90 to 180 in 2x. Then you don't really understand what's happening here. Bitcoin could go to 500,000 in a month. Bitcoin could go to 5 million in a year. You don't understand what's happening here. You have every country on earth is going to start printing money and buying Bitcoin in the next 12 months. They're not going to be buying Ethereum. They're not going to be buying XRP. They're not going to be buying Solana. They're going to be buying Bitcoin. That's what's going to happen here. So, I mean, depends what your measurement stick is. You could look at a month and say, yeah, they're up, but they're still down 60, 70, 80% to Bitcoin. Jason says, I cannot wait for Saylor to announce his Bitcoin buy before opening bell Monday. I know I kind of messed up yesterday, and I'm regretting it because I was supposed to move some money from Bitcoin ETF, some of the family investments here, we'll call them. I was supposed to move some from the ETF into MicroStrategy yesterday. It would have been the perfect day to do it because the price was down and I know what's coming on Monday. So I had to miss out on that, but whatever. We're still way early here. Hey, V Trades. This was the first show that I was ever on as a guest. Or second. But the first one I did, the guy did it. And then this was like in March, maybe April. Did the interview. I was like, oh, that was a lot of fun. That was a good interview. And then I looked the next day on YouTube and it was like premiering in August. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Did this in April and we're not premiering it until August? Everything's going to be irrelevant by then. So I would say V was the actual first one that I was on. So is it almost time to buy a golf course with Bitcoin? Not yet. We still got 8 years, eight years and 2 months at least. But actually, I've been talking more and more about the 88 Sats project, and in real life and online, there's a bunch of people who are trying to buy shares in it, but there's only 88 shares in it. So until somebody wants to sell one, we can't just issue more shares. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to do a 2.0. We're going to do a different fund, not based around golf, not with the intention of buying a golf course, but investing in businesses that earn money, investing in Bitcoin businesses, investing in real estate in Bitcoin friendly jurisdictions, investing in maybe a private jet for us to use and rent out, something like that. So I'm in the process. I haven't announced anything yet officially, but we're going to be, I got to top up my balance here. I got to pay my rent. I'm going to have some news about that probably in the next little while. I do want to start doing it now, but it's going to be a little bit different than don't know what that was about. I forgot I drained my Albi account yesterday. So that's a good reminder, I think, to anybody out there, all the Bitcoiners, is if you have any money with Albi, make sure you get it off there before January. There we go. We're paid up. We're squared up over on the Zaps. But I think if you don't move it off of your Albi wallet before January, I think you lose the Sats. So just a heads up. I see somebody zapped over in Zapstream, 121 Sats. So thanks to whoever that was watching over on Zapstream. Very annoying. I'm still extremely annoyed that we can't see the Zaps on the screen. It's very, very much hurting the income here. Very much hurting the income. But hopefully it gets fixed soon. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, we're going to announce that probably in the next week, couple weeks on Living in the Future. I'm going to have an amount. I'm going to have a plan. We're basically going to take the blueprint from 88 Sats and replicate it for the second version. Spaceman said, Sats for the stream from Jackson. Thank you. I see the balance was topped up there even further. So thank you, Spaceman. I appreciate that, my friend. We got Asperada. Orange Heart, hello. Good to see you. I'm 100% in Bitcoin. Is it a good idea to sell some for MicroStrategy? Ooh, that's a good question. Somebody asked yesterday the reverse of that. Somebody said that they made a lot of money off of MicroStrategy and asked if they should buy Bitcoin. And of course, my answer is yes. I think Bitcoin should always be the number one ahead of anything else. Bitcoin and cold storage. So that's a tough one. I don't think so. I don't think that I would sell any Bitcoin for MicroStrategy. And that might be an unpopular take, but that's how I feel. I think that Bitcoin is the best. Why would you own anything else if you own Bitcoin and cold storage? I mean, if you got money in the traditional markets, if you already have a retirement fund, you know, if you're already in the stock market and you want to reallocate some of that into Bitcoin, then yes, MicroStrategy, great idea. But I wouldn't. And if you do, I would say limit it to like 5%. So go 95% Bitcoin, 5% MicroStrategy. The only benefit to that would be the tax implications of it. I mean, it's probably going to go up more faster than Bitcoin does, just based on everything we've seen and heard. But the other nice thing about that is if you cashed out some Bitcoin, let's say 5%, just to use an example, take 5% of your Bitcoin, buy some MicroStrategy with it, put it in a tax sheltered account, and then just go to sleep for like 20 years or 10 years or whatever. And who knows, maybe you'll pay off your mortgage or something like that with it, tax-free, very easily. You don't have to worry about selling all your Bitcoin, but you know, might be worth it. Might be worth it. And I mean, if you had like 70% Bitcoin and 30% MicroStrategy already, I think that I'd start flipping it the other way around. But I mean, it's kind of up to you. That's the beauty and detriment of Bitcoin, is that you are kind of your own financial manager now. You're your own bank. So you got to secure it and you got to allocate it properly. So Nimlord, good morning. Good morning. Somebody already asked this, Nimlord. I told them my thoughts on Trudeau. TJ says, comparing all-star dollar value versus their Satoshi value is a waste of your time. Dollars will never be profits for Satoshis, no matter the exchange rate, what the influencers try to convince you. Yeah, I mean, that's a big thing that we're going to be dealing with here in the next year, probably, is the flashy things. There's going to be a lot of things distracting Bitcoiners who are impatient Bitcoiners. There's going to be altcoins. There's going to be MicroStrategy. There's going to be the next big meme coin that's going to 10x tomorrow. You just have to focus on Bitcoin. Ed laughs. Says the goal is to bring money into the market. You will be fooled. Not sure what that's about, but you might be right. I don't claim to know everything. Bitcoin could also go to zero. No, I don't think it could go to zero. Could crash for a little while. But I mean, if you look at the people who are desperately trying to get Bitcoin right now, even if it crashed to 70K, that would last like an hour probably. It's not going to go to zero. I don't know what your theory is on that. But I mean, if it went to $5, I'd be buying as many as I could. So that's why it'll never go to zero. 90s Family says, we're looking into your 88 sat starter pack. Just feeling a little uneasy from buying the jade from a third party. That's a really, really good point and question, because I'm a big believer in getting it directly from the manufacturer. But there's a big but there. I asked them before I talked to, when I was talking to Dale and Leander about doing a partnership with them, I said, like, what am I going to tell people when they say, why don't I just buy it from Blockstream? And they said, Blockstream actually advises people to buy from their exclusive dealers. So QuickBit isn't a authorized reseller of the Blockstream Jade. And Blockstream actually encourages their customers to buy from those type of retailers, authorized dealers, instead of buying from Blockstream. And there's reasons for that. A lot of it has to do with shipping time, service, and import charges. So instead of paying to ship it from wherever Blockstream is, but the big one for me is the service, because you can't call Blockstream. You can't call Blockstream. And that's the thing that, you know, for me, if I had an issue with the cold card, I can't call up CoinKite and say, hey, you know, help me through this, help me set this up. No, they're going to laugh at me. Whereas if you buy it from an authorized dealer like QuickBit and you're having issues with it, or you need a second opinion on something when you're doing the setup, you can just call them. You can talk to somebody on the phone at QuickBit and they can help you through it. So that's a really good question, a very valid point. The other thing I would say that is, do not be buying Jades or BitKeys or anything from like a Walmart or an Amazon, Best Buy. The chances of something going wrong there are very low, but there's still a chance, right? If there's a rogue employee at Best Buy and they decide that they want to hack into the devices and reseal them and sell them, that's a risk. Very low risk, but still a risk. And that's why I think that everybody should be, no matter how much Bitcoin you have today, if you have Bitcoin today, I think you should be thinking about this stuff, because in the not so distant future, it's going to be a lot more, what would you call it? It's going to happen a lot more where either the border seizes it or an employee screws with it or something along those lines. But we're not there yet. Like those attacks are coming down the line once more people are familiar with how to do it, and there's more people who can do that, but it's still very early. So the time to be buying your devices, in my opinion, is today. So, and I mean, the last thing I would say on that is, if you think about buying it from them versus Blockstream themselves, it's the exact same price, I'm pretty sure. Shipping's faster, but the first 8 people who buy that starter kit get a free session with me. So I'd say that's a pretty good value add into there. Pretty good savings on that. But let me bring that up here just so people can see it. So again, the first 8 people who use this, who buy one of these kits from QuickBit, is going to get a free session with me to help set it up, or just answer any questions you have about your Bitcoin strategy, your Bitcoin setup, anything. So here it is. Here's the starter kit. You get a Jade, you get some BTC trading cards, and the big part of this kit is this stamp seed. Very important. It's on titanium versus steel, which apparently is better. I think steel's okay, but titanium is apparently better. But this is the big money in this kit. You get the anvil, you get the little block there to hammer it on, you get the titanium plate and all the letters that you punch into that. And this is your little guide there that you use. So I'm going to have one of these next week. I might do a little demo on the show or something. I'll have to turn off the mic, but anyways, that's the big value item there. So there you have it. And make sure you use the code 88SATS, 88SATS, and you save yourself 15% off of this. So it's one heck of a deal. You get the service, you get the fast shipping. And as you can see there, they're authorized dealers of all these companies. So great question there. GJ, hi Jor, I'm new at this. I bought $1,000 worth of Bitcoins last week. Was this a mistake? Will this crash at some point? No, not a mistake. That's going to be the best decision you ever made in your life. $1,000 worth of Bitcoin. I like that you said Bitcoins too. I know there's a lot of people out there who say that Bitcoins is stupid, but in this sense, yeah, it's Bitcoin. Worth a Bitcoin. But if you have like 5 Bitcoins, I think that should be plural. I don't think that that's up for debate with me. And if you look back at some of the early emails with Satoshi and Hal Finney, they said Bitcoins too, but they were talking about like actual Bitcoins, not sats. So I'd say I bought $1,000 worth of Bitcoin last week, or I bought 5 Bitcoins. That's my theory. People disagree with that, but that's not a non-starter for me. It's Bitcoins. But no, just the only thing I would say to that, just to follow up there, is if you bought $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, take 5% of that and invest it in security. In your case, you probably don't need it yet. get yourself a nice phone wallet, use Moon Wallet, or what else? Or download Sparrow on your desktop computer. And then once you get to like $5,000, $10,000 worth of Bitcoin, that's when you start looking at something like a Blockstream Jade and a kit like this. So that's kind of my threshold is 5% of your Bitcoin stack. You invest that back into security. Hey, look at this, Josh. Greetings from Ontario, George. Sitting in my crane ready to absorb some knowledge about Bitcoin as always. Love the content. Thank you. Thank you. I mentioned that on the show yesterday with the Bitcoin panel that I was on. But I said, like, that's, you know, we get zaps, we get some super chats, but the comments are just as important to me because it's what keeps me going, you know, knowing that people are actually getting value from this and I'm not just wasting my time doing this stuff. So thank you, Josh. I appreciate that, my friend. Yeah, I mean, I agree with this in a sense, but at the same time, like everybody's at a different stage. TJ says Bitcoin can never go to zero. Please do some research before commenting. That's why we do the show. That's why it's called the Bitcoin Journey, because everybody's at a different place in terms of their own Bitcoin knowledge and their everything. So lots of people do think it could go to zero, but we know it can't. Everybody's giving JG some advice here. I would agree with this. Wait 4 years and save cash. Yeah, that's my advice for anybody who's just getting into Bitcoin now. Is take whatever you have. In this case for GJ, it was $1,000. Take that, buy Bitcoin instantly. Don't try to learn more. Don't try to don't get a Jade for it. Just put it all into Bitcoin. Don't try to time the market and think it might drop down to 90,000 next week. Just buy it all, smash buy $1,000. And then you get onto Bitcoin well. Let me bring it up here. So you go to Bitcoin well, you set up a recurring buy for your Bitcoin. Maybe it's $10 a week. Maybe it's $10 a month, but you set up a recurring buy and you just let it build up. And you don't even know that you're doing it, but you connect your Lightning wallet to this, you let it build up, you go to recurring buy on Bitcoin well. You can buy, you can recurring buy, you can swap for free, which is crazy to me. But anyways, you set a recurring buy up. So you select your Bitcoin that you want to generate. I would use Lightning just to save yourself on some UTXOs. And then you set the frequency, you choose the amount, and you receive the Bitcoin every week. So you start to smash buy, you DCA, and then maybe after a year or two, once you have more knowledge about the cycles, about how to secure it, maybe then you go into another, you start saving some on the side for another smash buy. But I would say DCA is the best strategy in times like this. I see a super chat here, so I'm going to scroll down. Hey, Paul, $10. Look at that. Paul is infamous in the Fractal Bitcoin chat. He's a big supporter of the Bitcoin community, as I've noticed in the last couple of weeks, following Chris's channel over on Fractal Bitcoin. So thank you, Chris, not just for this, but for all of your support to the smaller Bitcoin channels. That's very, very much appreciated. Cheers to you. That's awesome. Mikkel says, Jason Lowry has announced his new summarized thesis of software, but with a different name. He always posts stuff on Twitter, then deletes it. Yeah, he's a sneaky guy. He's a sneaky guy, that Jason Lowry. Sums up with that dude. And Spaceman, this is a great point. Going back to the hardware wallets there. He says, right, sometime in the future, it may be hard to even buy a hardware wallet or illegal to possess one. Could be. After Trump got into presidency, after he won the election, I think that we have some time before something like that happens. I don't think that'll ever happen, but I also don't have a crystal ball. Anything could happen. So now is definitely the time to be, if you got more than 1 million sats, I would start looking into a hardware wallet. B Trades, happy holidays to you too. And Merry Christmas. FW is now a good time to buy Bitcoin. I think I just answered that one. It's a great point from Buck52 says dollar value of Bitcoin will not matter in the future. The question will be how much Bitcoin do you have? Destructive, do you see Bitcoin as a viable pension plan for the future? I think it's the only pension plan in the future. I don't bother with a real pension, but I plan to hold my Bitcoin very long term. Yep, absolutely. Okay, well, I was trying to catch up here, but I don't know if we'll have a chance to. Okay, I'm going to try. Let's blast through these. Daniel says, Sailor said 5 million in a day. Yeah, I saw that. MicroStrategy is earning $500 million a day at their grow rate. That's more than MicroStrategy entire market cap in a year. How is this not the most undervalued company in the world? P ratio 0.8, only plan 2021. They can tap much more. Basically unlimited financing. Yeah, that's the crazy thing. They were talking about that on Rabbit Hole Recap the other day. They were talking about negative rates on Sailor's Bitcoin bonds. It's I mean, we've been talking about MicroStrategy so much on this channel. Too much, probably. I mean, I posted like 10 videos this morning from yesterday's daily Bitcoin journey, and half of them were about MicroStrategy, but that's what people are interested in right now. So, I mean, kind of where I stand, I think that this is very much a broken record for a lot of people who are here every day. But with MicroStrategy and Bitcoin, any amount of money that you have outside of the system, if you got it in cash, savings account, whatever, that goes into Bitcoin. Get it into your cold storage, hold on to those sats for a very long time, just go to sleep with it. If you have any money in the old system, the traditional finance system, whether that's through your pension, your work, retirement fund, all that goes into MicroStrategy. Don't try to get cute. I mean, you should rebalance a little bit if you have all MicroStrategy or all Bitcoin, but don't try to get cute. Just use those two very simple rules. And yes, even though MicroStrategy has gone up 600% this year, which is nuts, I don't even think it's begun yet. Most people have no idea what Bitcoin is. Most people definitely have no idea what MicroStrategy is. So I do think, even though people think it's going to crash at some point, I think we have 1,000,000 miles to go before that happens. 1,000,000 miles. Because what's going to happen here is it's going to go up again. Probably it'll get to $1,200 per share, and it'll get to $1,500 per share, and then they'll do another stock split. So if you got 5 MicroStrategy shares right now that you hold on to for a little while, that's going to turn into 50 shares, and then those are going to keep going up. It is really all Sailor's doing is shorting the fiat system, and he's doing it better than I think anybody could have anticipated. Eva says, did you say which 60% Bitcoin to MicroStrategy? I don't know what I said. I say a lot of things. You might have to, Eva, if you're still in the chat, you might have to just clarify what you mean by that. Paul says, please be nice to the new people in the space. Yes, absolutely. I think that that's so important for all of us here to really, really take this to heart. Very much take this to heart. And that's why I hate the term orange pilling people. And I hate the term no coiners or normies or NPCs. I hate all those terms, because we're just human beings. That's it. And everybody gets into Bitcoin at different times. You were one of those people before. And yes, you're a little bit advanced. You're a little bit further ahead. You had the better insight and better intuition to look into it. But that doesn't mean they're a lesser version of you. They just haven't got there yet. So orange pilling seems very forced to me. People have to have an open mind. People have to be interested in Bitcoin before they're going to learn anything. And the whole normie thing, the whole NPC thing, you're not going to make any friends doing that. You're not going to get through to anybody if you're making fun of them. Just be nice. Be nice and be there for people when they need it. This is a great point from Kyle, one of our Bitcoin journeymen here. says, try to memorize your seed phrase. Good for the brain as well. Try to memorize it. Don't say it out loud, though. Don't put it in front of any cameras, and don't solely rely on that. But it is a very good practice. If you can memorize your seed phrase, it might come in handy someday. And I don't know what that looks like in your own situation, but it could come in handy someday. And as Kyle said here, good for the brain. Anything we can do for the brain is good. Hey, Jerry, just got here. Jor doing another Satoshi Saturday. I guess I can take the day off. No, you can't get the day off, Jerry. You know that. Oh, man, we had such a good talk there. Paul was there yesterday. There was a bunch of people from the community here. Oh, I missed a bunch of chats here. These didn't show up. But we had such a good chat yesterday, and we're going to be doing it, I think, next Friday for sure, and hopefully into the future. It's going to be Jerry, myself, and Chris from Fractal Bitcoin. I don't know why. I just think that, there's a very big need for it right now in Bitcoin for people like Jerry, like Chris, like myself, who aren't very technical. We've been in for about a cycle and a half. We're not that far advanced and that far ahead of everybody yet. We still want to help a bunch of people, and we want to dive into some topics that, the average person just doesn't understand. And, we compared it to kind of like the All In podcast. That's what we want to replicate a little bit, but focus all on Bitcoin instead of all the traditional markets. And some of the guys on All In podcast, I don't watch it because of that. So you're going to have 3 Bitcoiners here, 3 very non-technical guys, and lots of laughs. That's my favorite thing about Chris's show is I just have a good time there. And that's what I try to do on this show too. It's never too serious on here, never too technical, but just helping people and having fun doing it. Muslim Bitcoiner says, I prefer this intense back and forth in the 97, 90K range. Agreed. Builds a tense spring that'll explode once 100K rather than hitting 100K and coming straight down immediately. Could not agree more with that. Ape says, Ledger displayed at Best Buy. And I think BitKey is actually going to be at Best Buy now too. And that's one thing that I would, honestly, I would try to avoid that. We just talked about the hardware devices getting straight from either the manufacturer themselves, or in the case of Blockstream, who actually encourages their customers to buy from an exclusive, or what is it? Authorized dealer? Authorized dealer. Because you get faster shipping, you don't pay import fees depending on what country you're in, and you have service, you have customer service. If you have any issues, you need help getting set up, you can just call one of the authorized dealers, such as QuickBit. Jet said, I just bought more Bitcoin today, also bought yesterday, the day before that too. That's the best way to do it. Or as Jerry does, every hour on the hour. I don't know if you can do that with Bitcoin well or not. I haven't tried that. I think that's a wild strategy, and I absolutely love it. And I compared it to what I do here in Canada with ShakePay. So I use my ShakePay Visa to pay for everything in life, groceries, gas, our business purchases. And I have a top up on there. And if you have ShakePay, if you're in Canada, look into the top up feature. So if you buy something for like $5, it rounds it up. You can set it to $1, $2, $3, $5, I think. And it automatically buys Bitcoin every time you buy something. So if I bought something like a bag of chips here in Canada for $8, it would round up. It would be $11 worth of a charge, but I would get $3 worth of Bitcoin with that. So that's kind of my equivalent of buying every hour on the hour without even knowing it. Hey, BTC Moon Guy. Haven't seen the Moon Guy here in a while. And Paul with another super chat. Wow. Jerry is the man. Jerry absolutely is the man. I don't mean to talk about this till I'm blue in the face, but if you got some time today, go check that out. It's on Fractal Bitcoin's channel. 2-hour chat. It's called the Bitcoin channel. It was myself, Jerry, Chris, BTC Moon Guy was there, Paul was there, and we just had a great Friday afternoon. And I'm really looking forward to the future of that. We don't have a name yet. But we're working on it. Okay, let's I want to talk about this. I'll catch up on the chat later. I didn't want this to be over an hour, but that's already a little bit late for that. Man, I suck at this. But let's watch this. This was the reason I wanted to do a stream today. I was going to do a video, but we just turned it into a live show instead. But I was absolutely fascinated by this. And the crazy thing, I know I probably shouldn't be talking about this on the internet, but I don't really care. The crazy thing about this is I was in the shower a couple days ago. This is a legitimate story. Everything here happened in order. So I was in the shower. I was thinking, like, obviously what I do all day, how to get more Bitcoin. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I should just propose this to the family and say, you know, maybe we should just look into refinancing the house and buying Bitcoin, setting up a brand new multi-sig setup for this Bitcoin specifically, and just see what happens. I just think that there's way too much demand. There's way too many companies, way too many countries, way too many people who are going to be getting into Bitcoin. This thing is only going to go one way here, fast. And it might happen very fast. So then I come downstairs and Bridge is like, she's probably going to be mad I said this, but this legit happened. So we're talking about something. She's like, do you want to hear something crazy? And I was like, yeah, of course. And she's like, I was thinking maybe we should take out a loan or refinance the house to buy some more Bitcoin. And I was like, on the inside, I was like exploding with joy. Not that even if we didn't do it, the fact that she's thinking like that, the fact that she understands where this is going and is willing to, you know, most people you talk to, if you mention that to them, they'd think you're out of your mind. And she proposed it. And she's like, do you think that's crazy? I'm like, I literally just thought about this like an hour ago in the shower. And then, so we talked about it. We're like, I don't know. It might not make sense right now. But then yesterday I watched this video and we're going to watch it right now. It's 5 minutes long. I'll speed it up a little bit. But this is what's happening. This is the future of lending, of collateral, of real estate, of Bitcoin, all wrapped up in 5 minutes. So we're going to watch it. We're going to talk about it. I got a little explanation that I'm going to do after on a spreadsheet. And then I'm going to talk about who this makes sense for.
Andrew, I'm so pleased to be here. And I'm really excited to announce today on Squawkbox this loan that we've just completed. We combined a seasoned multifamily asset in Philadelphia, about 50 meters away from the first bank of the United States, the one that Alexander Hamilton started. We combined that asset with around 20 Bitcoin. And we provided a loan to refinance the existing mortgage on the property, to provide the asset sponsor some funding for capital improvements, and with the remainder to buy the 20 Bitcoin.
Okay, we got to go backwards.
Go ahead.
You got to go backwards. We're just going to slow the whole thing down so
Nice.
everybody understands what happened. Okay, so there's a property.
Yep.
Physical property.
That's right.
Right,
Multifamily, 63 units.
It's a multifamily property. The sponsor, effectively the owner of that property,
Yep.
needs a loan.
That's right.
Okay, they come to you.
That's right.
Okay, you say, we'll provide you the loan in the form of
A loan.
a classic loan.
That's right.
Okay, so you're going to give them cash.
That's right. Term financing.
Term financing. And how long is the loan? Just
10 years.
10-year loan. Okay.
That's right.
At above market rate or below, or what's
No,
the
market rate interest rate.
I'm just trying to slow the whole thing. Okay, now let's introduce the Bitcoin piece into it.
That's right.
So no, explain how the Bitcoin piece
And
can
why?
relate. So the loan has been provided.
The use of proceeds is to pay off the existing financing. So
The use of the proceeds
of the loan
of the loan.
is to retire the existing mortgage.
Right. So it's an old mortgage.
Gone.
They're going to pay the old mortgage
It's
off.
been paid off.
Okay.
Now they have a little bit extra money to make some improvements in the property.
Right. So a
And-
little bit extra cash. So the amount of money you've lent pays off the old loan.
That's right.
It's also you have a little bit extra to fix
Improve
stuff
the
up.
property, fix
Okay.
stuff up.
Yep.
And then with the remainder, which is a little bit
So you
more.
have even a little extra,
That's
extra
right.
turn.
And that, instead of cash out, it's
Uh-huh.
Bitcoin in. And we use it to purchase some Bitcoin and add it to the collateral package of the loan. So now our loan is supported by both the traditional asset, the 63-unit apartment building,
Right.
and the Bitcoin.
Okay.
So the loan, it was maybe $2 million more, so that's how you get the
Exactly.
Bitcoin out?
Exactly right. So it's
On the assumption that the Bitcoin's going to rise faster, and that will become an asset.
over the life of the loan for
Yeah.
sure. So we think on the downside, this provides us with much better protection compared to a traditional lender, because a traditional lender, if something goes wrong, they have to recover against that particular building, which is idiosyncratic risk. Something might happen with the maintenance or
But
what
that
have you.
also requires conviction on your end that Bitcoin is not a volatile asset
over
and
time.
over time, and that is either going to go up or at least stay where it is.
Well, that's by fusing the Bitcoin with credit and by fusing it with traditionally financeable assets, it gives us the luxury of expressing that medium-term view on Bitcoin. And that's what's key. It's volatile in the short run. You know, I mean, minute by minute today, who knows? It could cross 100,000. That would be exciting.
How long's the loan?
10 years.
10 years.
And the minimum hold period for the Bitcoin is 4 years. So what we say to the borrower is we say, look, you can repay the loan at any time for any reason with no penalty, which is a really valuable feature compared to a traditional loan.
Yeah, that's like a home mortgage. Then.
Like a home mortgage almost. That's very unusual for commercial financing. But what we do say is that to the extent that the loan is repaid at year 4 or earlier, the minimum will release the property. But the minimum length of time that the Bitcoin has to stay in escrow is 4 years.
Andrew, go on to, because I don't know how much time we have, but I'm fascinated about, there is a problem for state and municipalities in terms of the asset liability mix. Somehow you think that using Bitcoin, that you can lower that risk and increase returns and narrow the gap. How does that work for pensions?
Well, if you think about it, Joe, the average exposure to fixed income at U.S. pensions is around 25 to 30%.
Okay.
And many of them have an asset liability funding mismatch of around 25% as well. They're a big shortfall. It's going to be a big burden on taxpayers and a real problem.
We've talked about this so much and how to solve it.
Now, what they've been doing in credit is reaching for risk, going for super high yields, leverage, niche strategies. And I think that it's time to pivot away from those toward high quality credit, where the return per unit of risk is extremely attractive, but the returns are not as high. How do you compensate for that? You fuse the credit with Bitcoin, and you utilize the credit to express a medium to long-term duration. Because yes, if you have the Bitcoin for 1 day, 1 week, it's extremely volatile. But for 4 years, 4-year hold period, the worst ever return has been just over 23%. The 5th percentile, 30%. The 50th percentile, 91%. So if you take a small amount of Bitcoin and you add it to a large amount of high-quality credit in novel lending solutions, novel structured credit pairings, what you can accomplish from an asset allocation and an overall portfolio strategy perspective is incredible. It can actually be a cornerstone to close the asset liability gap at pensions.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, I thought I closed the stream there. Absolutely brilliant. That's what my dad said when I sent that video to him. My dad, not a huge Bitcoiner, owned some Bitcoin, worked in the bank for 40 years, lending. Said absolutely brilliant. So let's walk through this, because I know there's a lot of stuff to take in. So I figured I would just make a little spreadsheet here for the folks, see what's exactly going on here, see what outcome might be. I think this is kind of just the average of most people out there. I mean, this isn't for everybody. If you just bought a house like last year, you probably don't have any sort of equity in the house, so this probably won't apply to you. But if you're somebody who's like owned a house for 5-10 years, you paid a decent amount off the mortgage, this is definitely something that you should be looking into. So you can see here, this is a normal house value, $500,000. After 10 years, probably, this might be a little bit higher, maybe 15 years, but you got $200,000 left on the mortgage. So you got $300,000 equity in the house. So the proceeds, you go to this guy who was just on CNBC there, you say, okay, here's what I got. So they give you $500,000 for the value of the house. It's your proceeds. So this is how much you pay to the bank. It's left over on the mortgage there, $200,000. So you're left with $300,000. So as they talked about there, he said that they allocate a little bit to improvements for the house. So I used, what is this, 1/6, $50,000, maybe update the bathrooms, the kitchen. I mean, you can't do a whole lot with $50,000 anymore, but this also bumps up the value of the house. Improvements, capital improvements. So you put 50 grand into that. The wife's happy, and you put the rest into Bitcoin. And so in this case, you're going to end up current day, 2.5 Bitcoin. So I did a couple different scenarios here based on the previous cycles of Bitcoin. This is not guaranteed. This is just using past metrics. But keep in mind here that the last time we had a halving cycle, we did not have Wall Street. We did not have countries buying Bitcoin. We did not have public companies buying Bitcoin. So last time Bitcoin went from 5,000 to 65,000, 11x. So I used 5 here just as a very, very conservative amount. So the current price of Bitcoin, $98,000, we're going to expect it to be 5x at the bare minimum. So that puts us at 490 per Bitcoin. No, sorry. Is that right? I didn't even do this properly. That's based on 1 Bitcoin. So this gets even crazier then. I'll leave it at this, just for the sake of doing it. I might go back after and revise this, but this is based on 1 Bitcoin. So you actually get 2.5 Bitcoin here. So and then I used 15x. I think that that's doable. I do, really. A lot of people laugh at that, but we did 11x last cycle before, again, any of those entities showed up. So 15. So that puts us at 1.4 million per Bitcoin. So this is what it looks like afterwards. This is at the 5x multiplier. If Bitcoin goes up 5x. So you got 490K. That's your one asset, your Bitcoin. Your house value, you put $50,000 into it. It probably appreciated as well. This is probably low, but you got 550. So your total asset value is now $1.04 million. Less the mortgage because you had to pay them, or you still owe them the $500,000. So your net worth increased by $540,000. This is at the 15x. So this is Bitcoin at 15x. You got $1.47 million worth of Bitcoin. You got the same house, 550,000. And so your total assets now are worth $2.02 million. You got to pay up the mortgage though. You still owe the company $500,000 and your net worth increased $1.5 million. So somewhere between these is probably accurate. I mean, if we use I didn't do this properly. So if we take here, instead of the 490, we times that by 2.5, which is how many Bitcoin you had. So you're still even at a 5x this cycle, and you're holding this for 10 years. So this could be even higher than this. So your Bitcoin's worth $1.2 million at a 5x multiplier. It goes up 5x. Your house is 550. Your total assets are 1.7 million. You owe 500,000 and your net worth has increased $1.2 million. Couple things there. They said that they're going to have to hold on to the Bitcoin for 4 years minimum, which makes perfect sense because, as you said there, anybody who's held on to their Bitcoin for at least 4 years has made a minimum of 20% on that Bitcoin. The loan is 10 years. You can repay it at any time, no fees, which is unbelievable. And it just makes so much sense for the consumer and for the lender. Like, this is just the beginning of this whole thing, right? And so again, who is this for? I would say this is for somebody who has a decent amount of equity built up in their house. So if you've owned the house for 5-10 years, or if you are completely paid off your house. Like, there's a lot of people out there watching this. They're like, okay, well, I don't want to refinance the whole mortgage, but maybe we can take half it out, buy some Bitcoin, recollateralize the loan, get a new mortgage, very low rates over 10 years. And then you don't have to take any of your other investments or your cash or your spending money. If you're living off of your whatever you have, you don't have to mess with that. You can just refinance your house. Who this is not for, anybody who's who's owned the house for like a year and they hardly have any equity. This would be a waste of time probably to do. So if I was in the US, I would definitely do this. I'm pretty sure that the company's only dealing with US people, but I think it is going to be a conversation to have with the bank and see if they'll do something similar. I don't expect that they'll do the no fees if we want to repay it. But, you look at that and you're like, okay, well, I mean, even in 10 years, let's say that that's off 5%. In 10 years from now, Bitcoin could be 50x from here. So you pay off your mortgage with money you took out in your mortgage to buy Bitcoin. I mean, there's things like this. This is what's going to change everything. And this is what's going to absolutely destroy the old system, is stuff like this, because it just makes too much sense. It makes too much sense. And the banks that are going to be the last to adopt this are going to be the ones who miss out on all this opportunity here. So that was the main thing I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to do a video talking about it and just post it, but I decided to do it live here. And I'm interested to see what you guys think. If there's any risks there, I mean, other than Bitcoin going down. But at the same time, you also have to consider that even if Bitcoin went down, the worst thing that's going to happen there is you're just going to have to pay off your mortgage, pay more into your mortgage because you already had equity built up. Let's say Bitcoin crashes. You just have to spend more years paying off your mortgage. That's worst case, right? And I love this strategy compared to something like taking on credit card debt or other things that people are trying to do to get Bitcoin right now. I think that that's an absolute no-brainer strategy for anybody who has equity in a house. All right, what have I missed here? Paul says, just buy Bitcoin, fam, don't buy MicroStrategy. I mean, yeah, I mean, I've been very clear with mine. Bitcoin is always number one. Even Saylor, he was the one who coined that phrase. There is no second best. And that absolutely includes MicroStrategy. So if you have the opportunity, if you have Bitcoin in cold storage, that's where you want to be. Jet says, being in Bitcoin is like being in the gym. We're all here to get better and healthier. Yeah, absolutely. That's the Bitcoin part I love about Bitcoin so much. TJ says, a few years ago, $100 was too expensive for someone to buy Bitcoin. In a few more years, someone will be wishing they could trade $1 million of their dollars for a Bitcoin. Very, very, very true. More Bitcoin talk. Yeah, Saturday stream. Jay, good to see you. Thanks for being here again today. A rare Saturday stream today. Bitcoin Buddha says, Jerry loves freedom. I caught you on the live stream yesterday with Chris and Jor. I really liked the collab. And Yusuf says, you can do it on Strike. You can buy by the hour, daily, weekly. I think that that's what Jerry uses is Strike to do that. I don't know if you can do it at Bitcoin Well. I don't know what their frequency limits are on there. And Jason, I agree with this. David Sachs is the only guy tolerable on All In. That's why I'm just blown away by how popular that podcast is. Because yes, David Sachs, I like him. He makes a lot of good arguments. But the other three guys there, I mean, they're the paramount of fiat system. Especially the Jason guy with the glasses. Like, I don't know how they're still allowing him to show up for that show. It doesn't make any sense to me. Tommy, look at this. Sold the house for Bitcoin. Bought a farm on a 30-year, 7.5 fixed mortgage, up 30% so far, 1 month later. It's going to become more and more popular. No doubt about that. Daniel says, I bet there are nations either buying or making all the plans to buy right now. Over-the-counter markets are drying up. I mean, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? If you're a country, if you're a company, if you're an individual and you see everything that's happening right now in the world, and you're just like, I'm going to wait for Bitcoin to go down a little bit, or I'm going to watch NFL football all day instead of learning about Bitcoin. I mean, you kind of deserve it. Okay. Yes, I agree with this, Jets. People seem to say Bitcoin is volatile as if it's a bad thing, but that seems to be limited short-term fiat thinking. Yeah, as Saylor says, volatility is vitality. It's welcome. It's where opportunity is. Oh, that's where Saylor banked from those guys. He's leveraging the volatility to increase shareholder value. Genius. Zach says the all-in Bitcoin. Yeah, I don't think that's going to be our name. I don't think we want to be a carbon copy of those guys. But it's going to be a similar thing where we just talk about, what we're working on. It'll be mostly Bitcoin focused. I mean, probably 95, just like our portfolio holdings, 95% Bitcoin. Paul, it's another super chat. My God, man. Paul's carrying the weight around here. I did see that there was a couple zaps sent in. So thank you for those. But Paul is definitely carrying the weight of the show today. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Paul, I live in a tiny apartment. I value my wealth in Bitcoin. I mean, if I could go back, I mean, I love this property. And this is what I would say to anybody who out there who's like, you know, at the point in their life where they could afford a house, but they're like, do I buy a house? Do I buy Bitcoin? I would say that unless you're certain that you want to be in that house for like 10 years or more, just rent. Just rent. Even though you're going to waste some money, as people are told, you're going to waste some money on rent. You have so much more flexibility with that. So much more flexibility. If you get a new job opportunity or you decide you want to move a different country, you don't have to worry about anything. You just say, sorry, I'm out of here. Bye-bye. But this house that I'm in, like we grew up on this lake here. This is a perfect property for where I want to be for the next little while. And so it hurt, but it was the right decision for me. And, you know, the other thing you have to keep in mind there with mortgages and rent, and if you're comparing the two, is like people really underestimate, and this is a really good job by the banks and the system. You know, you look at a house for $500,000 and you're like, oh, okay, $500,000 seems doable. But then you actually look at the mortgage and you see you have the principal there, which is $500,000. But then even at low rates, you're still paying probably close to $500,000 in interest on that mortgage. So that house doesn't cost you $500,000. That house costs you $1 million. And most people, the average person, do not understand that. And they think that renting a house is very bad because you're wasting so much money. But instead of giving the whole value of the mortgage to the bank, you're just giving it to somebody else. So you're wasting money either way, the way the system is designed. JG says, I bought on Coinbase. Ooh, but they charge fees. What are you guys using to buy? GJ, go to our favorite. You know what? On that note, let's give away some Bitcoin right now. In honor of GJ, a new Bitcoiner. We're going to give away some Bitcoin today. But depending on what country you're in, GJ, it's a hard one to say, but I kind of like it, honestly. Depending on what country you're in, or if you're in North America, you should absolutely be using Bitcoin well. They are the top platform, in my opinion, and in my own use case. So let's give away some Bitcoin here. But the reason I like Bitcoin well is because they are Bitcoiners. Number one. That's why I like Strike 2. I'm not in the US, but I do love Jack Mallers. And I know that they are on Team Bitcoin. That's a big thing. Bitcoin only, Bitcoiners, you got to know who's running it and whether or not they would sacrifice your information to the government if they had to. And knowing Adam from Bitcoin Well, talking with Adam, I do not get that vibe at all. I think that he is definitely, and they are Team Bitcoin. But on Bitcoin Well, let's bring it up here. You can buy, which is a pretty big part of a Bitcoin platform. You can buy, you can set up a recurring buy, you can sell on there. And here's my favorite part, you can swap. So if you're just getting into Bitcoin, one thing that you really have to pay attention to is the UTXOs. And what I would recommend for people is use this swap feature, or you can just send it directly to your Lightning address. So if you're going to buy, you can set up your Lightning wallet here. So I got to change this. It should be that one now. So Bitcoin Journey at Coinos, that's my Lightning wallet. So if I bought $50 right now, Bitcoin Wallet doesn't hold any Bitcoin, or they don't hold any funds. As soon as that touches their system, they convert it to Bitcoin, sends to your Lightning wallet instantly. So I get $50 there. That builds up in my Coinos wallet. And then once I get to like 500,000 sats or 1 million sats, that's when I move it to my cold storage device. So then you don't have to worry about UTXOs. Because if you're doing that, if you were to do the flip side of that, if you're buying $50 worth of on-chain and you're sending it to your Bitcoin cold storage wallet every time, you're going to create an absolute nightmare for yourself in the future. So the other thing too there, like if you're earning sats on, let's say, Fountain or ZBD or wherever, and they're all building up in your Lightning address, With other wallets and with other platforms, you have to pay a fee to move it from Lightning to on-chain. Whereas with this, you just take your Lightning wallet, you scan that address, and then you set up your destination wallet, your Bitcoin address here. And within, you can see up here, it says next batch in 15 hours. So it's not going to show up right away, but you're not in any sort of rush, I hope. So you just send it there. It's free to do. It's incredible, especially if you're a new Bitcoiner. I've wasted so many sats swapping between Lightning and on-chain that I don't even want to think about it. But I didn't know this is just brand new, this swap feature. So it's free. So you go to bitcoinwell.com/Jor, and you get 5 free tosses into the wishing well. Oh, we got to do that. Let's make a toss right now. So get your phones out, get your Lightning wallets out, and get ready to go. Someone's going to win some free sats this morning or this afternoon. Ready? Set. Go. $500 sats to the first person who scans that QR code. You have to press send too. If you're new to the show, if you're a new watcher, you actually, it seems weird. You'd think you'd press receive, but you actually press send because you have to scan that QR code. So the first person to scan that is going to be 500 sats richer. Hopefully it's been claimed. If not, I'll scoop those up later. So as you can see here on the screen, go to bitcoinwell.com/Jor if you're in Canada or in the US, and just try them out. Throw in $100, $200, $500, see how you like the platform. I switched to them exclusively once I tried out their platform, and obviously there's a supporter of the show. And if you use that link, you get 5 free tosses into the well. Okay, we're an hour 20 into this already. I was not going to exceed 1 hour, but anyways, we got lots of people in here. We got lots of good questions and stuff coming in. So there you have it. We're going to keep things going here. And Arnie just showed up. Hey, buddy. What are you doing? Snoozing? Okay. He showed up twice yesterday and came right up on screen, but he's a little bit slow today, it looks like. Tip Top Smoke, look at that. It's a new face in the chat. Bitcoin will exceed $1 million by 2030. We are not looking far enough ahead yet. Not financial advice. 2030, that's very bullish, my friend. I think we're going to hit 1 million much quicker than that, but you never know. Tommy, yes, that's a great point. Wait until the insurance markets figure this out. So important. Such a good comment there from Tommy. Because from what I understand is that the insurance companies, because of their limitations and what they can hold their reserves in, they're going to be the last companies to adopt this Bitcoin strategy. And when the insurance market comes into this, that's going to be just as big as MicroStrategy in terms of the capital that's going to flow into Bitcoin when they figure it out, when they're able to do it. Like, nobody's talking about that at all right now because it just makes so much sense. Akio, good morning. Catherine says, why not buy MicroStrategy? Bitcoin goes up, MicroStrategy goes up. Yeah, I agree. That's why I think that, you know, even though the price of one share right now is like $400, you know, as Bitcoin goes up, we said it was going to go up 5x. I think it's going to go up much more than that, but even take 5x. So that turns that share into $2,000 share. They'll probably do a stock split before that happens. You're going to get 10 times more shares, and it's just going to keep going up. So I absolutely have no issues with MicroStrategy. Just don't sell any Bitcoin for MicroStrategy. And if you're still somebody who's newer and you don't have a whole lot of Bitcoin yet, definitely buy Bitcoin instead of MicroStrategy. And this is true. MicroStrategy has the double counterparty risk there. You're trusting Saylor to hold on to the Bitcoin, and you're trusting your stockbroker or the market, I guess, to actually have that share of ownership. So MicroStrategy can fail. Bitcoin cannot. That's why Bitcoin is number one. And Tommy D, Bitcoin is saving, MicroStrategy is investing. That's a very good rule. MicroStrategy at the end of the day is still a company. Anything can happen. Yes. Man, there's some knowledgeable folks in here today. I'm a big fan. Paul. Oh my God, another $10 from Paul. Well, this is definitely worth it to do a live stream instead of just a video today. Paul says, I wish I could donate more. You've done way more than you needed to today, Paul. So don't ever say that. Thank you, Paul, very much. Jason says they have one of the largest. Yes, actually, this is what led me to that, because I think it was in Germany. Sailor was talking about this at one of his recent chats. Said I think it was 20% of one of his offerings, like out of $1 billion or $2 billion, whatever it was, maybe $1 billion. 20% of that convertible debt note was an insurance company in Germany, I believe. One of the largest insurers bought into the MicroStrategy because they can't hold Bitcoin yet. So they're actually, the smart ones are actually using MicroStrategy to get exposure to Bitcoin as their insurance. Paul says, if your stock count closes, you have 0 MicroStrategy. Absolutely. And it could happen. Look at Arnie. You snoozing. And it could happen. That's what I mean. Like, in the times we're in right now, if you do something or you say something that you shouldn't, or anything could happen. There's so much more risk of holding your assets in a stock account versus in your own cold storage. So much more risk there. So it's just things to keep in mind. I'm not going to tell you what to do or not do, but that's you just have to consider these things, right? Wow, look at this from Andrew. Back in 2020, I used part of my house to put into Bitcoin. I now hold more Bitcoin than the mortgage. And don't look at this and say, oh man, I wish I would have done that back in 2020. We're in the exact same time right now. It's going to be 2028, and we're going to look back on the chat and it's going to say, back in 2024, I used part of my house to put into Bitcoin. I now hold more Bitcoin than the mortgage. Like the opportunity has not gone. It has not even really started yet. So Kyle says, a little behind the live stream, home equity line is another option for leverage. Yeah, it's the same kind of thing. And if you don't have access to whoever that guy was from, like I probably don't myself. So it's just worth a conversation or finding a lender, a home equity line that will loan up to the value of your house. So whatever you have in equity, that's when you can put into improvements. That's what you can put into Bitcoin. And this is a good point. I mean, Paul's been carrying the weight in terms of the super chats today, but if you don't have any spare cash to send this way, I get it. But the least you could do is press the like button, leave a comment, share the video on your socials, and let's get good information out there in front of people. What do we got here? We got 68 people and only 35 likes. What? Likes are cheap. Super chats go a long way. Zaps go a long way. And I'll switch banners here. If you don't have any super chats to send, and if the Zap stream is not working for you today, you can send it to Arnie's wallet here. He's sleeping right now, but he's still here. He's still here. Co-host is still here. Showed up for today. So that's Arnie's wallet. Send him 5 sats. Send him 10 sats. Send him 500,000 sats. Goes to this wallet. And if you don't want to scan the QR code, his wallet address is at the bottom of the screen there. GJ, I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is supposed to be. Looks like a lightning URL, but I don't think we can do too much with that one. You got to get a wallet. What country are you in, GJ? If you're still here, we'll give you some advice on the lightning. ETF is also not Bitcoin. That's a great point. Tip top smoke. I do think it will happen much faster in 2030. Just there will be sell-offs by whales and what the heck is going on here? Could we work? Should we work here, camera? That would be nice. I'll keep talking until this comes back on. But anyways, what I was saying there is I said Garge is over in the chat from all the way from Florence, Italy. Says, great show yesterday. I loved it. Thank you. I don't know what's happening here. Can't explain it. Not going to try. Gensler is out and his 4-year war against crypto is over. I mean, that's what I've been saying for a long time on this channel. Is there's a bunch of Bitcoiners who are like rooting on Kamala Harris to win because they thought that she would accelerate Bitcoin adoption. And there's a lot of people who are taking that back now, by the way. A lot of people who were saying that and then realized how fucking stupid that was. So I don't know if Gensler was the guy to point the finger at, but it was definitely the Democratic Party made Bitcoiners' life living hell for 4 years, and they would have doubled down probably over these next 4 years. So, it really pissed me off. There's a lot of people who I followed in Bitcoin, and they said that Kamala Harris would be better for Bitcoiners, and they have lost all of my support because that makes no sense to me. Brennan says, headed to a retirement party this evening, and I've been tapped on the shoulder to handle some Bitcoin Q&A. At a retirement party? I mean, you got a good crowd there. Everybody who's retiring is going to see their investments melt or has been seeing them melt. So you got a good audience there. It's a good place for it. Good luck, my friend. GJ, thank you for the stream drawer. Very interesting. Well, we do it every day. Well, not every day. Usually not Saturdays and Sundays. I like to take a little bit of time for myself. But every Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern time, we do a live stream just like this. We usually have more topics to talk about. But today we're just going all in on the chat. Catherine says, new here, but loving the live. This is getting fucking ridiculous. Okay. Anyways, Catherine, new here, loving the live. We're glad to have you here. And this is something we do a lot on this show. Let's get an update on this, Catherine. Let's see. I want to give a shout out to Catherine and all the women who watch this show. I know that it's kind of few and far between, but the number is growing, which is good to see. And I don't know why that is. I have no idea. But it is a real thing. So we're actually under 2% of women audience. But now let me see what we're at. I love looking at this kind of stuff. I don't know if you guys are interested or not, but it's interesting to me because I feel like this is a good representation of Bitcoin. Obviously, these numbers will be a little bit different depending on where you are or what you're watching. But look at this. This is a very crazy stat to me. Can we see this? No, we're not even live yet, or we're not even up here. So it says watch time from subscribers. So 60% of the people who watch my videos do not subscribe to the channel. That's, as Ricky LaFleur would say on Trailer Park Boys, that is mind-boggling. I don't know why. I guess I don't put out enough value for free for people to press a button. But anyways, that's not what we're here for. So we got majority of people from the US, 50% of people are from the US, 10% from Canada, 7% from the UK, 4% from Australia, and 2% from Germany. Look at this. This number, this is what I was talking about here. This is the number that's growing. It went from less than 2% to 3.5%, and now we're at 4.3% of women who watch this show. So that's good. So shout out to Catherine, shout out to all the other women who watch the show. Good on you. And the age, and I like how that the user specified as 0. I'm glad that I attract 0 people who don't know what fucking gender they are. What I should have done today, I should have had a couple beers. I usually say stupid shit when I have a couple beers. But anyways, we're on the coffee still today. This is kind of interesting too. The age demographic, majority of people my age here, 30%, a little bit older, 45%, or 45 years, 25%. And shout out to the 65 plus year olds for watching the show, because I know, you know, it's one thing for the 18 to 24 year olds. I think they're too busy watching Mr. Beast and Jake Paul and, you know, learning all about the fiat world. But 65 plus year olds who are here watching today, big shout out to you, because you had 60 years of brainwashing from 3 sources. Number 1, the TV. Number 2, the newspaper. Number 3, the radio. That's the only place you could get information. So the fact that you're watching Bitcoin shows and with an open mind and kind of going your own direction is very impressive. Tip Top Smoke says, I think the reason why is mobile, which is usually 70% of viewers don't see the like button without lowering the tab. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. And likes are pretty fiat anyways. If you want to really make a dent, either send in a super chat, send a zap to Arnie or on Zapstream, or share it on your socials. Get any of your friends who are Bitcoiners, get the show in front of them. They'll thank you. Okay, so GJ is from the USA. That makes it a little bit tougher for Lightning wallets. But I would say Coinos. That's where I would start. Although Coinos is a little bit new, a little bit buggy, but use Coinos. Just go to coinos.io. Coinos.io. I'll put it in the chat here for you, GJ. And set up a wallet in there. They have a lot of really good features in there. But it is still pretty new. So make sure anytime you're dealing in Lightning that you don't have more than like 10,000 sats in there at a time. I've lost on eCash. I've lost on a wallet of Satoshi that I couldn't access anymore. I updated the phone and I couldn't access the old version of my wallet of Satoshi. So I think I lost like 25, 30,000 sats in there. And I lost 20,000 in eCash. So just be careful. When you're trying new things, Lightning wallets, eCash wallets, just pay very close attention to the balance in there. Don't ever exceed 10,000 sats. It's just my advice. Yeah, we've been having some technical issues here. So here's that address here, coinos.io. They got a really good Lightning wallet. Lots of functionality in there. Trudeau's shutting him down. I mean, you never know. Thank the heavens that Trump won. Amen to that. Amen to that. David says Gensler was just a puppet and you should check at Warren's Army and Choke Point 2.0. Agree with that. Okay. Well, I guess we're doing another 2-hour show here. Oh, well, Arnie's sleeping. It's snowing. Nobody's here. That's okay. Lexus Media. Jor, question. Does it make sense to just buy Bitcoin with my paycheck? I would say yeah. I would say yeah. And the one thing to keep in mind there, and going back to the credit card thing, that's what Jack Mallers does. I love that strategy. So basically, he just gets his deposit. You can do that using Bitcoin Well too. You can pay your bills with Bitcoin Well. So what that looks like is you just basically set up your payees, whether that's like your utility bill, your internet bill, whatever, your credit card bill. That's what Mallers does. He basically just uses a credit card for all of his purchases. And then he sets up a payee on Strike or Bitcoin Well, set up the credit card company as a payee. And then you send Bitcoin into the platform and then you pay off your credit card with Bitcoin. So yeah, I think that for the next, for a while now, if you would have asked me this question in 2022, I would have said, no, that's a horrible idea. But based on where we are right now and based on what's coming here in the next 12, 16, 24 months, just put your paycheck into Bitcoin the day it happens. And instead of losing purchasing power, you're actually going to gain. And I love that strategy of using the credit card on like a Bitcoin Well to just pay off the balance there. So look at that. That's impressive. Shout out to the people watching right now. 3 people have signed up for a Bitcoin Well account since this show started today. So one more time, we'll throw it up here. bitcoinwell.com/Jor. You get 5 free tosses into the wishing well, which equals a minimum of 2,500 Satoshis. No brainer. Try them out. If you don't like it, never think about them again. And you can still watch my show, but you can hold it against me. I don't mind. Mrs. Shake, another female, says, does it say anything about ladyboys? Yeah, that was the user specified, the 0%. So I guess we don't have any ladyboys that are watching the show. I don't know. Trailer Park Boys, one of the greatest shows ever made. Thomas says, same stats for me as another Bitcoin YouTuber. Oh, Thomas, good to see you. I'm also a fellow Thomas. George is just my stage name. Kind of. It's my middle name, but that's what I have gone by since I was a kid. My real name is Thomas. That's a rounding error. I thought that said MB. I thought this was another Manitoban in the chat today. Rounding error. Everything's a rounding error right now. Bhutanese, the kingdom of Bhutan. Monks are out here hodling 1.2 billion in Bitcoin. They're the real gangsters. Yeah, no doubt, hey? And I'm sure if you asked 100 people on the street, A, who the kingdom of Bhutan is, and B, do you think they're mining Bitcoin? I would say that probably 99 people would say no, or more, maybe 100. So that's the opportunity here, though. David says the gender fix is in, hopefully with the new administration team. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing outside of like the Bitcoin pumping is just the society, the woke nonsense. They're really getting laughed at now. It was kind of acceptable for a few years for some odd reason. People were too scared to call bullshit on it and say how insane it is. But now it seems like things are swinging back here. So big up for women in Bitcoin, big up for women in sports who should be playing against only women. Big up for women who should be going into a bathroom and seeing only women in there It's not fair. I don't know how we let this happen in the world. And men are to blame. Men should have been a little bit more, I don't know. I did my best. When I die, if I died tomorrow, I would have zero regrets in terms of trying my best to call bullshit and trying my best to try and move things in the right direction. And I know that there's a lot of guys out there in my own network who could not say the same about that. All right, global investor. So true, TJ. Higher price are the new norm. People get used to it, then they wish they could have bought back then. Yeah, 100%. Nothing's going to change here. We're just going to keep going through it, except it's going to be at an accelerated pace now that the big boys are here. Okay. You know what? Let's give away some more Bitcoin. I don't know. I'm just in a giving mood today. The first 500 sats were on Bitcoin Well. The second set of sats are on me. So here you go. If you missed the first 500 sats, you're going to get it again today. I don't know how this happens, but it does. So here we go. And this is just because there's a couple people who have signed up for a Bitcoin Well account since we started the show. So this is my way of saying thank you. So are you ready? Set? Go. $500 sats, another 500 for the community here, for the people. So I'll see if I can snake this one. If you guys are sleeping right now, if you guys and girls are sleeping, see if I can snag it from you. No, somebody got it. So congrats to whoever got another 500 sats there. And thank you to those who have signed up for an account today. You're gonna like it. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. David says, keep going. You're on the right path. Don't focus too much on the views. Your audience will find you with time. Yeah, I've no doubt about that. We're in no rush, hey, Arn? We're in no rush. No, this channel's been growing good. But I do want to hit 10K before the end of the year somehow. I don't know how it's going to work. I think that me being on the Robin Sayre podcast next week will bring a bunch of new people here. It seems out of reach, but I think we can do it. I think we can do it. Cheers from France. Cheers, David. Thanks for stopping by today. Lady boys are too busy in bars yelling at tourists walking by. Isn't that so true? Isn't that so true? I saw the saddest video today, and I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole because we'll be here for a long time. But I saw a video today of a guy reading a Bible. And you know those guys who stand on the corner reading Bible verses? You know, agree with it or not, I don't think that that's the point. There was just a crowd of like the LGBTQ community who were really, really fucking with him. Like beyond, it was really hard to watch just how far we've allowed this to go. It was disgusting. And I'm not going to tell you what religion to believe in or whether God's real or not. That's not my place. But like the fact that we allow that stuff to happen now is disgusting, because I know if it was the other way around, it would be a much bigger story. So that's the sad part. And you know what? It just seems like we don't need to go down that hole. It's bad. Catherine says, why do so many people not understand what's happening with Bitcoin? People look at me like I'm crazy when I talk about it at work. Catherine, I don't know. I went through the same thing. I'm sure everybody watching here has gone through the same thing. I think the big thing, there's a couple different reasons for this. And it's a good question because I think about this all the time. But I think that the main reason, truly, is because they think Bitcoin's out of reach. They see $98,000 Bitcoin. Most people don't even know what the price is. I watched a video of people on the street. The interviewer was asking, would you rather have Taylor Swift tickets or 1 Bitcoin. And the video was extremely painful to watch, for sure. There was a lot, it was mostly women, of course. Taylor Swift fans are mostly women, but I'd say 70% of people on the video said that they would rather have Taylor Swift tickets than 1 Bitcoin, which just goes to show how far out of touch people are with reality and what's important and what's happening. And unfortunately, I did paint a very bleak image for women. And I think that had to do with Taylor Swift. I was trying to think of something I could use for an analogy of men that would be the same kind of thing, maybe Masters tickets. But I still think most men would do quick mental math in their head and be like, okay, well, I can probably get to the Masters for like $50,000. I'll have $50,000 left over in Bitcoin. But it's sad, truly. But I think that's a big one. I think that most people see $98,000 and they think, you know, I don't even have $900 in my bank account. So why would I pay any attention to what's happening in Bitcoin? Screw those guys and girls. So the unit bias is big. And that's why I think that once Bitcoin gets to $1 million, that's when everything's going to change. And it's a big number. It's a round number. But the other thing that's going to happen there at $1 million per Bitcoin is 1 cent will equal 1 sat. So we won't be looking at, nobody's going to know what the price of Bitcoin is anymore at that point, because they're going to see it like a penny stock. They're going to see sats. Oh, they're only 1 cent. That's why I said my favorite altcoin is sats. Most people just don't know what sats are yet. That's why I called this channel 88 sats, part of the Bitcoin project. But because, you know, in 10 years from now, nobody's going to know what the price of Bitcoin is. They're going to know what the price of sats are. And so all of a sudden you're going from 1 sat equals 1 cent to 1 sat equals 5 cents to 1 sat equals 50 cents. And they see it going up just like a penny stock. But in the background, Bitcoins went from like 1 million to 50 million. And when that happens, that's when things for Bitcoiners, that's why it's so important to just get as many sats as you can at this stage. Don't worry about the price. Don't worry about anything else. Just get as many sats as you can. But Bitcoiners are going to know what it's worth. But most people just see sats going from 1 cent to 10 to 50 to $1. And when it hits $1, we're 100 million. 1 sat per equals $1 parity. Then it's like, okay, that's game over. So that's a big one, is the unit bias. Most people don't think that they can afford it, so they don't even bother looking at it. But the other one is just because of, you know, most Bitcoiners are out of the world of fiat for the most part, or on their way out of it. But the majority of people are still in that system, and they're still struggling. They're seeing their grocery prices get more expensive. Life is getting much harder for them. They're working harder. They're earning less. And so they don't have time. They go to work all day. They can barely afford to pay the bills. They come home. They just want to shut their brain down. They watch Netflix for 4 hours a night and go to bed, do it all again. That's the reality for most people. The people who are in the fiat world, it's a rat race. It's just trying to keep up. And then when you're not working, you're just shutting your brain down, numbing your brain. So unit bias, people are too busy to spend any time learning about it. That's the main ones. So I don't know. Tommy, fold versus Bitcoin well. Both. In Canada here, that comparison would be like ShakePay versus Bitcoin well. I use ShakePay and Bitcoin well. I use ShakePay for like my purchases. I earn sats on every purchase. I do the roundup feature where I buy $3 worth of Bitcoin every time I buy something. And I use Bitcoin well to buy, recurring buy, and swap on there. So I'd say both. What's Steven saying here? ETH literally rallied $1,600 in a few months. I'm lost. Y'all don't know shit. 8K ETH run. This run's such a joke channel. I mean, I could just bring up the ETH chart and show you how it's performed since the merge. 60% down. I'm sure you're doing great, Steve. I'm sure you're doing great with your investments. What a great investment, holding Ethereum instead of Bitcoin, 60% down. I'm sure you're feeling good about that. That's probably why you're here, to try and make yourself feel a little bit better, but not going to work, my friend. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for supporting this channel. Global investor, I saw that video. Radical left is too confident now. Hopefully with Trump, they won't be so bold anymore. Yeah, I think you're talking about the one with the guy sitting there reading the Bible. Yeah, I agree with that. Too confident. They got away with too much stuff, and hopefully it's the end of it. Oh, there's too many good questions here. I can't leave. One of my main goals on this channel is always just to never leave any questions behind. I try to. That might be Mr. Shake. I thought it was Mrs. Shake. Mr. Shake. Do you consider yourself a Bitcoin maxi? And if yes, what is the reason for it? Do you believe everything will be built on Bitcoin in the future? If yes, please explain how. Well, at least you're saying please. But I would say I'm like a Bitcoin maxi, yes. The reason is because it's going to reprice everything. I think Bitcoin is by far the best store of value. There will be other altcoins. There will be stable coins. There will be shares in companies just like we have now. But everything's going to be repriced by Bitcoin because it is the true measuring stick. And so if you're looking to store your value, Bitcoin is the only option. And that's why I said, like, I think that altcoins will exist and I'll probably use them in the future. I'll probably use Doge. I'll probably use Litecoin. I'll probably use maybe Solana for something. But until then, I'm not going to store my value in those because I don't know if they'll be around in 10 years. I know Bitcoin will be. So I'll just store my value in Bitcoin. And when I need those altcoins, I'll swap Bitcoin. I'll have way more purchasing power at that time than just holding it and hoping that maybe they go up or hope I use them someday. It doesn't make any sense. So that's why I say you could take 2% if you want to and buy some meme coins if you want to try to flip it into Bitcoin, but don't ever exceed that. And don't buy an altcoin just because you think it might be useful in the future. It's horrible. Horrible, horrible investment strategies. Joey says, do you utilize Nunchuck with your cold storage or only Sparrow? I only use Sparrow. Big shout out to Joey, by the way. Joey sent in a nice 10,000 sat zap last week, and he's got one handsome looking dog in his profile picture. One of our Living in the Future members, Joey. Catherine says, I'm so embarrassed, but glad to be one of the few women that's not that blind. Yeah, I showed it to Bridge here at the house too, and she was like, that makes women look so stupid. And I was like, yeah, I don't think they did it on purpose. She's like, they only asked idiots that question. I'm like, well, they'd probably just sit on the corner and idiots walked by. I said a few more things that I won't repeat on the show here, but like, I don't think they were specifically targeting women with that. She took it personally. I've said too much on the show. Hopefully Bridge isn't watching this on the way home. David says, people think of Bitcoin like stocks and think it's out of reach because they don't start to grasp what it is. Yeah, that's what I mean. When we start talking in sats, that's when things will change. But we have to get to $1 million per Bitcoin first before that happens. Tommy says, what username for the Bitcoin Well referral? Right here. Just go to bitcoinwell.com/Jor. Nice and simple. And that'll take you there. That'll give you 5 free tosses into the well. 2,500 sats minimum. Yes, exactly. And this is the same thing as a stock split. That's what stock splits do, right? They don't actually generate more stocks. They don't issue more shares, but they just change the perception of people's minds, right? That's what MicroStrategy did when they were at $1,200 per share. They did a stock split. So the share went down to $120 per share. You had 10 more shares, but it's $120 is much more doable for people. Lots of people see $1,200 and say, well, that stock's way too expensive. But if you look at it 120, there's more people who can buy. They see it differently. They can get more for their money. And that's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, that's a perfect analogy there. The stock split in Bitcoin will be when we get to 1 million sats or $1 million per Bitcoin. And we do a stock split where you still have the same amount of Bitcoin, you still have the same amount of sats, but it's just perceived differently by people. And that'll probably happen a couple more times within the next few years with MicroStrategy. They'll probably do a few more stock splits as well. Alpha Doom says, Lightning work on Blue Wallet, or should I get another wallet? Been trying to figure this out all week. Well, if you're on Android, you can use Coinos. I think they have an Android wallet on there, or you can use the desktop, like just through their browser. But Blue Wallet, I believe, is good for Lightning. I don't know if they have an address, though. That's the one thing that Coinos has, is it gives you like they even generate a nostr npub for you. But you get, with Coinos, you get you can generate invoices. You get your Lightning URL, which looks like an email address. What else is on there? And it actually took me quite a while to figure out how to get it all. Here, let me bring this up. It's going to dox myself a little bit, but whatever. I probably dox myself more than enough here on the channel. So this is what I took forever. I could not figure out how to find my URL at Coinos. But if you just click this little QR code looking thing here, you get your Lightning address, you get your public URL, which we're on right now, coinos.io/my username, Bitcoin Journey, and they actually give you a nostr public key. And if you go into your settings, you can go to security. Hopefully I'm not going to do anything bad here. I shouldn't be doing this kind of stuff on a live. This is horrible practice. But you can scroll down here a little bit and you can see there it is, reveal secret key. So you actually sign up for a Coinos wallet. They give you a nostr key as well with that. Pretty cool. Coinos is so far ahead of these other Lightning wallets in that sense. And so you get your secret key, you can paste that into a nostr client, and you have an npub that's also your Coinos. You're welcome. Hard truth, Netflix is a brainwashing tool, and the next currency to trade is time. 100%. Oh, look at Arnie. Arnie's watching the show now. He was sleeping before. Now he's watching. Good guy. Good guy, that Arnie. How are you going to come to 88 sats and talk ETH? Exactly. He disappeared pretty fast. You want to hear a crazy story? I mean, we're already 2 hours into this. Do you want to hear a crazy story about Ethereum, people? Oh, Bridge is calling. Hopefully she's not watching the show. Write a new message. What do I do here? She probably has a legit question for me. I'll just say I'm live right now. Whoops. She's gonna be pissed. Anyways, the story there. So Ethereum, I made a video a long time ago saying, don't wait for your Ethereum to get up to fiat prices that you bought it at. That's totally irrelevant. Look at it versus Bitcoin. And there was a whole bunch of people in the comments, a bunch of Ethereum holders who were shitting on me. And one person actually took my email address and subscribed me to like 200 different mailing lists. Like, that's the kind of people who hold Ethereum. That's the kind of people who hold coins like that. Like, who the fuck does that? You know how painful that was for me? I pretty much had to take I didn't do it right away, but it took me like a couple months to unsubscribe from all of them. Like, what a waste of time that was. So pathetic. Sorry, I'm just responding here. I knew she had a question. Hopefully that. Okay. So it's like, that's the whole vibe there. That's what drew me to Bitcoin. That's what made me avoid those kind of people. I don't know. Global investor. I mean, you can do what you want. I'm just saying, like, those aren't stores of value. They're not stores of value. They're utility tokens. They claim to be. But, you know, if you want, just store it in Bitcoin. Andrew, 60% down since the merge to Bitcoin. Yep. And this is exactly what happens with stock splits, because it changes people's perception of it. Says every time Apple did a stock split, the stocks went up after that. Same for Google and NVIDIA and MicroStrategy. It went from 1,200. They did a stock split, went down to 120. And in like 2 months, it almost touched 500. It's just a different thing for people. Follow-up question. What's your thoughts on Bitcoin OS? I don't know what Bitcoin OS is. Never heard of it before. I have a fair amount of sats in my blue wallet. How do I move stuff from my blue wallet to Coinos? I'm so newbie. I know. Sorry. You know what? I mean, that's fine. That's what the show's for. That's what the purpose of this channel is. But it sounds like this might be like more of a conversation to have separately. But I mean, just very quickly, you could go to Coinos, you press receive, you get that address, you paste it into your blue wallet. But it sounds to me like you probably need more of a like structure, a plan for your layer one, for your Lightning, other stuff. So if you or anybody else watching the show wants to set up like a 1 hour call with me, I do those. Usually do several per week nowadays. But you can get all my information in the show notes below. And the nice thing for that is the Living in the Future community actually gets 50% off of the fees for that. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, you can sign up Living the Future in the show notes. It's $5 a month, and you save instantly $100 off of the fee just for being part of that's one of the perks for being Living the Future people. So that's what I would say. Tommy D says, if you must keep a large fiat balance, recommend River. 3.8% paid out in Bitcoin automatically. Yeah, River's going to be, they're the first. They definitely won't be the last to offer that. But that's a pretty good call. You know, some people prefer holding cash. I don't myself. But anyways, I missed a couple zaps here from Zapstream, couple 121. So whoever's watching over in Zap, thank you for that. Zapstream's been shitty lately. I don't like it. Not that I don't like Zapstream. I just don't like that we can't see the zaps. I don't like that people aren't zapping in there. They're hurting my income here, Zapstream. Oh, well, thanks to those who sent in some zaps. Zach says, messing with Ethereum is a sign of lesser intellect. I agree with that. That's the same kind of thing too. People just buy Ethereum because, well, they say, okay, well, I have $10,000. That could either get me 0.1 of a Bitcoin or 3 Ethereum. Not knowing what Ethereum is, what Bitcoin is, not knowing any of that, they just think that they can get more. They think that Ethereum has a bigger chance of going up higher without knowing anything. That's what most people do. And I mean, that is a sign of a lesser intellect for sure, because they don't even understand what they're holding. Keep in mind here, Ethereum can have a use case. If you use it, if you're moving coins back and forth, if you're building something in Ethereum or Solana, there's a use case there, but they're not stores of value. That's the key. Bitcoin is the best store of value. Jeremy, Bitcoin to zero. Speaking of, Tommy says fiat steals your time, Bitcoin gives it back. Speaking of absolutely wasting time, you don't own Bitcoin. You hope Bitcoin goes to zero. You've clearly spent zero time in Bitcoin, but you think that it's a good idea to spend some of your very scarce, precious time coming into a YouTube live stream and saying Bitcoin to zero. That is absolutely peak fiat, Jeremy. Peak fiat. And I hate to end like that. So let's look at Arnie to end. He's back sleeping. He only fits in half the bed now. It's too big. You're too big, Arnie. Okay, so just like we do every show here at the end, we'll wrap things up. And unless there's any questions here, but I think we're toast for the day. They are? I think we're toast for today. FHLM. I haven't watched the show in a while, and now we have weekend streams just today. So this is a rare weekend stream. I just wanted to talk about the financing, the mortgages with Bitcoin, refinance. So I'll probably post that clip later today or tomorrow, maybe. No, probably today. I don't do any work on Sundays. Sundays are for yourself. So, Alpha Doom, you're welcome, my friend. Mr. Shake, Bitcoin OS aims to extend Bitcoin's utility by enabling dApps and smart contracts natively. I mean, I don't know anything about that. I don't pretend to know. I'm not going to spend any time learning about it. So if I need that in the future, I'll just use some of my Bitcoin. That's what Bitcoin is. It's storing value. Think of Bitcoin as like the best battery that's ever been invented before, because that's all your energy is, your time, your work, your value that you add. That's what you're storing inside of Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is the greatest battery that's ever existed before, not that exists today, that's ever existed before, to store that value. And if you compare it to like I compare it to like buying 100 batteries, AA batteries on Amazon for like $10. Yeah, it's cheaper. It's like Ethereum would be cheaper. You can get more of it, but it's a shitty battery. They last like 2 weeks and then you got to swap them out. And Bitcoin is the best battery that's ever existed to store your time and your energy. So everything else is a complete waste of time, in my opinion. With that, if you have any questions, if you liked anything you heard today, if you want to pick up a Bitcoin Jade, the Bitcoin Journey pack from QuickBit, it's right at the top of the description now. So you get a Blockstream Jade, you get the stamp seed kit on titanium. Make sure your private key is very secure and fireproof and waterproof. And you get some BTC trading cards as well in there. So $425 Canadian, you get 15% off using the code 88SATS. They ship within days. They have really good customer service. And for the first 8 people, I don't know how many, this might be done now, but for the first 8 people who buy a pack, you're going to get 1 free session with me and Arnie. Arnie will probably be here too. So I can help you set up the Jade. I can answer any questions. We can talk about your Bitcoin strategy. We can talk about your UTXOs, your Lightning, your Layer 1, your eCash, anything. So that's what I would say. David says, new to your channel, appreciate you're realistic and not just telling people to get to 1 Bitcoin. Yeah, I mean, that's when I started my channel, I knew that there's a big hole for people who are actually reasonable, logical, common sense, and genuine. I don't do any editing here. I don't have any sort of agenda to follow or script to go off of. I just communicate with people in the chat, and I think people like that. And for most people, I mean, trying to get to 1 Bitcoin, that's targeting a whole different crowd of people. And we know who we're talking about here, get to 1 Bitcoin. I do think it's a goal, but I don't think that's like, if you can't get to 1 Bitcoin, you're going to be screwed. I think if you get 1 million sats and you protect that and you find a way to keep earning sats every month, then you're going to be so far ahead of anybody in your own life. So it's doable. It's like $1,000, $2,000 today, plus your time, your energy, and DCA. Build it up. Build your life in a way where you can earn monthly sats. Get the sats flow going. So with that, Arnie and I are out of here. I hope you have a great Saturday. Thanks for tuning in today to my 1-hour show. Thanks for being here. If you want to send Arnie some sats, this is his wallet. He appreciates it. Hey, Arn. Say thanks. Okay. We're going to go hang out. So have yourselves a great Saturday, a great weekend. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the super chats. I don't know if Paul's still here, and thanks for the sats, everybody. We'll see you right back here on Monday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time. We'll see you then.